All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach Yahushai. I want to give all praises for the Most High. Allow me to do this, putting the Spirit on me to do this video, waking up the elect in the four corners of the earth, raising up Israel, and the sons and daughters, women and children, the 1/3, and the 144 elect, and David our King. Under Yahweh, David our King, the apostles, and under Yahweh Shai, and then under Yahweh. So I did this video because there's a lot of discrepancies between who is the Arabs, who is Esau the Arabs, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna basically cut that, right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Ishmealites Shai. So let's start off and go back to the beginning. Let's first start off with Abraham's two sons, the first being Ishmael. This is Genesis chapter 16, verse 1 through 11 on the left. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. Remember that name. It's important for the rest of this breakdown. Well, it's not even really the rest of this breakdown, it's explanation. And there's common sense. And Sarai said unto Abram, I'm not going to say common sense, but let's get back to it. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. He listened. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar. They had sex, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Hagar started hating on Sarah, on Sarai, before her name was changed to Sarah. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between me and thee. Verse 6. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thine hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. Verse 7. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur, the land of Shur, in the way that's going to the land of Shur. Verse 8. And he said, the angel, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence comest thou? Where are you coming from? And whither wilt thou go? And where are you going to go? It's a desert. And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. Verse 9. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hands. They had slaves, right? Abram and Sarah, his wife, had servants, handmaids of the other nations. Verse 10. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. Verse 11. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. Now, this is the Ishmealites, right? Arabs. The Arabs. So when they say Middle Eastern, Christ was not Middle Eastern, Arab Middle Eastern. There's a lot of people in the Middle East. It's like saying Christ looked American. There's many people in different diversities that live in America. This is Ishmael. Ishmael is recognized by Muslims as the ancestor of several prominent Arab tribes, and being the forefather of Muhammad. Muslims also believed that Muhammad was the descendant of Ishmael that would establish a great nation, as we just read, as promised by God in the Old Testament, right? Now, there's more on that. This is Hagarenes, where you get where that comes from the word Hagar. Hagarenes equals Arabs, equals Ishmael. This is Genesis chapter 16, verse 1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. We just read that. Genesis chapter 16, verse 15. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abraham called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. Right? Now, let's look up the term Hagarenes, where that comes from the word Hagar. Hagarenes. It's Greek. Agaroni, classical Syriac. Hagari is a term widely used by early Syriac, Greek, Coptic, and Armenian sources to the early Arab conquerors of Mesopotamia, Syria, and Egypt. The name was used in Christian literature and Byzantine chronicles for Hanif, Arabs, and later for Islamic forces as a synonym of the term Saracens. The Syriac term Hagri can be roughly translated as the followers or descendants of Hagar, while the other frequent name, Hagri, is thought to have connection with the Arabic Muhajir. Other scholars assume that the terms may not be of Christian origin. Patricia Crone and Michael Cook claim in their book, Hagarism, the making of the Islamic world, was introduced by the Muslims themselves, who described their military advance into the Levant and Jerusalem in particular as in Hijra. The name used interchangeably with Ishmealites came also to mean any Muslim, right? Because the Muslims of those times, most of them were Arabs. An example of its current, that lets you know that Islam is not the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans religion. Get out of that. An example of, but keep watching the video. An example of its current usage is Irani, a name used for Bulgarian Muslim in colloquial Bulgarian, although the term has also been explained as paralleling the spread of Balkan Islam with anti-Trinitarian Arianism, right? So the point is, Hagarenes were described by Greeks and Coptic and Armenian sources describe the early Arabs. And it tells you that the word Hagarenes is interchangeable in the last paragraph with Ishmealites. So the Arabs are Ishmealites. Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, more evidence for Ishmael being the so-called Arabs of today. We went over this in the last video, but I got more information. A descent of Ishmael, the son of Abraham and Hagar. The 12 sons of Ishmael and his Egyptian wife became princes and progenitors of as many tribes. They lived in camps in the desert of northern Arabia, although occasionally some of them settled down as Nabateans. Now I know just because they lived in Arabia doesn't mean that they're Arabs, but we just proved that they were Arabs. Mostly, however, they lived like Ishmael, a wild man of the desert. But it does kind of, push it to that side. And also, like him, they were famous for their skill with the bow. Joseph was sold by his brother to some Ishmaelites. Genesis 37:25-28. The word is apparently used in the Old Testament in a wider sense, referring to the nomadic tribes of northern Arabia generally. All Arabs following Muhammad's example claim descent from Ishmael. You can get that from the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary on page 257. Right? That's all I want. Now let's go to, we want Esau. Let's get Esau, right? Now we're going to read, this is Genesis 25 and 20. We're going to go to Esau. Genesis 25 and 20. Genesis 25 and 25. This we're going to read. And the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Right? Now, if you read this whole account, it's Isaac and Rebekah had two sons, one named Jacob and another named Esau. We're reading about the white man who is Esau, and we're going to prove that the white man goes back to Esau. Right? So this is the first appearance of this. It said the first came out red. This one, look at this. He came out red. The white man's not white. He's different shades of red. And you literally call them rednecks down south. This is the first appearance of the so-called white race on the planet Earth. I say so-called because it's not what the Most High God called them. And it was a name they gave us to keep us confused for so many generations. So we don't know who's who in the Bible. And so we don't figure out God's judgment written about them in the Bible. Right? You know what I'm saying? So this is Genesis 36, verse 9. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Ruel, the son of Bishemeth, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz, Esau's sons, were Teman. And the sons of Eliphaz was Esau's son. So the sons of Eliphaz were Teman. Pay attention to that. Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz, right? Now, this brings me to this term. One of Esau's great grandsons or grandsons' names was Teman, right? Now, which brings us to this word. Now, this is the Argead dynasty. The Argead dynasty, Greek, is where you get the name Argead from, was an ancient Macedonian royal house of During Greek province, because Macedonia is in Greece. They were the founders of the ruling dynasty of the kingdom of Macedon from about 700 to 310 BC. Right? House of Argos, Virginia. So, now, who was the last? Now, it was founded 808 BC. Now, who was the final ruler of this kingdom? Alexander the Fourth of Macedon. Alexander was a white man, an Edomite, from the land of Greece. He was a Greek. Now, let's look up. Now, if you click Timonids, it brings you to this. Timanus, right? In Greek mythology, Timanus was a son of Aristomachus and brother of Cresphontes and Aristodemus. Timanus was a great-grandson of Hercules. Now, it says Timanus was the great-grandson of Hercules. Now, we know Hercules isn't real, right? Now, let's look up the definition of a myth. A traditional story. Well, let's go to definition 2. A widely held but false belief or idea, right? You know Hercules wasn't real. A traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of a people. That's where Timid, it claims to go back to Hercules, so that was the story. Or explaining some natural or social phenomenon, and typically involving supernatural beings or events, which is what they did. Let's go back. Timanus was a great-grandson of Hercules and helped lead the fifth and final attack on Mycenae and in the Peloponnese. He became king of Argos. He was the father of Kissos, Karanos, and it's called the House of Argos over here. Then Karanos was the first king of the ancient Greece kingdom of Macedonia and founder of the royal Macedonian dynasty, the Timanid or Argead dynasty, interchangeable, which culminated the sons of Alexander the Great 5 centuries later. Right? So let's look up Hercules, because it says Timonids goes back to Hercules. Now Timonids really goes back to Teman, Esau's son. We're going to prove that, but let's look at Hercules. Hercules, jump down, was a divine hero in Greek mythology. It wasn't real. The son of Zeus. He was the son of Zeus and Alcmene, foster son of Amphitryon. Sorry, excuse me for the names. He was a great-grandson and half-brother, as they are both sired by the god Zeus of Perses. He was the greatest of the Greek heroes, a paragon of masculinity, the ancestor of royal clans who claim to be Heraclidia. It's not Hercules, it's Heracles in Greek. So I messed up, but it's Hercules in Romans when the Romans adopted it. And a champion of Olympian order against chthonic monsters. You know this is mythology. In Rome, and the modern West, he is known as Hercules, with whom the later Roman emperors, in particular Commodus and Maximinia, often identified themselves. The Romans adopted the Greek version of his life and works essentially unchanged, but added anecdotal detail of their own, some of it linking to the hero with geography of the central Mediterranean. Details of his cult were adapted to Rome as well. This shit was a cult. Now, we know Hercules is fake, but it says the Timanid dynasty, or a person named Timanus, goes back to Hercules. The reason why the Timanites that come from Esau claim that the Timanid dynasty go back to Hercules and not Esau is because they are the authors of fables, and we're going to read that. This is Baruch chapter 3 and 23. The Hagarenes, which is what we read at the beginning, this is just out of the Apocrypha, so it leaves the H out. But it says the Hagarenes that seek wisdom upon the earth, the merchants of Meran and of Theman, which goes back to Teman. It just has an H in this translation, but Teman, and the merchants of Teman and of Meran, and the merchants of Meran and of Teman, the authors of fables. Right? So why did they say? So why did the Temanites say that the Teman dynasty goes back to her? Why did the Temanites that make up the Teman dynasty that go back to Esau say that that a man named Temanus go back to Hercule? Because they're the author of fables. I know that was a mouthful, but it's because they made the shit up, and they also searchers out of understanding are also what the Temanites are. None of these have known the way of wisdom or remember her path. Now, Teman, if you read throughout the scriptures, Teman was very popular for their so-called wisdom, right? But the wisdom of this world is foolishness, right? And we're going to read that. It says they're the searchers out of understanding. Now, Greece, we're going to keep it in that same area. Athens is in Greece. Athens is the capital of Greece. It was also at the heart of ancient Greece, a powerful civilization and empire. The city is still dominated by 5th century BC landmarks, including Acropolis, a hilltop site topped with ancient buildings like the colonnaded Parthenon Temple, the Acropolis Museum, along with the National Archaeological Museum, preserves sculptures, vases, jewelry, and more from ancient Greece. I mean, that's what it is. But I wanted the point where it says the Temanites are searchers out of wisdom. And we're going to connect that with them being the Greeks that you read about in the Bible, in the New Testament. This is, but, we all know Paul was sent to the scattered Israelites in Rome and all throughout everywhere he went to. But you know what I'm saying? We adopted Greek customs. This is Acts chapter 17, verse 16. Now, while Paul waited for them at Athens, Greece, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. His spirit was moved. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, with the Jews, right? Letting you know he went to the dispersed of the Jews in Greece. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Jews and with the devout persons, and in the market daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him. And some said, What will this babbler say? Others some, He seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Yahushai, Hamashiach, and the resurrection. You know what I'm saying? I just gave you his real name, but the text says Jesus, which the Greek changed too, or the Romans changed. Verse 19. And they took him and brought him unto Areopagus, saying, May we know what this new doctrine whereof thou speakest is? For thou bringest certain strange things to our ears. We would know therefore what these things mean. Because they are searchers out. What did it say about them? And searchers out of understanding. Verse 21. For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else, but either to tell or to hear some new thing. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill, that's why the planet is called Mars, and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. Right? Baruch chapter 3 and 23. The Argones that seek wisdom upon earth, the merchants of Meran and of Teman, the authors of fables, they're superstitious. That's why they made that Heracles bullshit up. And searches out of understanding, going into that philosophy that they with, because the Stoics and the Epicureans were philosophers. None of these have known the authors of fables and searches out of understanding. None of these have known the way of wisdom or remember her past. Right? And so I wanted to get something else. Let me see. Here we go. Now we're going to prove that Epicureans. Now, Epicurean, a disciple or student of the Greek philosophy Epicurus, and of concerning Epicurus or his ideas, right? Epicureanism is a system of philosophy based upon the teachings of the ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus. He was a man. Founded about 307 BC. Founded 307 BC. Now, the last ruler of the final ruler of the Temanid dynasty or Argead dynasty it says the Temanid dynasty or Argead dynasty, interchangeable over here. It says the last ruler was Alexander the Fourth of Macedon, and the kingdom ended in the kingdom lasted from 700 BC to 310 BC, right? And it says this Epicurean philosophy was founded around 307 BC, right? And he was a Temanite. The Teamanites are searchers out of understanding, and that's what he did, right? Just for the fun of Stoics, we're gonna look that up. Stoicism, the endurance. Verse 2. An ancient Greek school of philosophy founded at Athens by Zeno of Citium. Sorry for the mispronouncing it. The school taught that virtue, the highest good, is based on knowledge. The wise live in harmony with the divine live in harmony with the divine reason. Also identified with fate and providence that governs nature, and are indifferent to the vicissitudes of fortune and to pleasure and pain. Let's look that up. Vicissitude. A change or circumstance or fortune, typically one that is unwelcome or unpleasant. So life is not. They're saying that. Let me see. They're saying that. Well, you get the point, right? Now let's go on. This is remember I told you Teman was very superstitious about their wisdom. I mean, not superstitious. I'm tripping. Well, they were, but Teman, if you read throughout all the Bible, the Most High really mocks them about the wisdom that they claim that they have, and how He will put it down in later prophecy in the future, like NASA and all these astrologers and all their wisdom that they think they have on the right hand side. Right. This is Jeremiah 49:7. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Prudent just means you real diligent in what you looking into. Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, which was an ancient Edomite city. For I will bring the calamity of Esau, who was the father of the Edomites, upon him, the time that I will visit him. Right? Now, we read about Alexander the Fourth, but we're going to get it. Now, Kittim is Cyprus. You can look that up, on your own. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. King James with Apocrypha, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, Cyprus, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So he was the first king over Greece, right? Now, that was proving that Alexander the Great, he was a Macedonian, because the Timanid dynasty was established in Macedon, and Alexander was a Macedonian. Now let's see what other Edomite people, or what other tribes that go back to Esau were in Macedon as well. This is Ammon. Codex Vernaticus reads Edom. Tobit 14:10. Additions to Esther 12:6. 16:10 and 17. We're gonna read one of those. Probably in each case for Haman. So whenever you see Ammon, it's Haman. In the Apocrypha. You know what I'm saying? Well, in the additions to Esther, I don't know about Tobit. Probably in each case for Haman, well, not in Tobit, I know that. Probably in each case for Haman, the arch enemy of the Jews in the canonical book of Esther. Compare Esther 3:1 with additions to Esther's 12:6, which you can find in a book called the Apocrypha. In additions to Esther 16:10, Ammon is represented as a Macedonian, and all other points corresponding or agreeing with him being to the Ammon of the book of Esther. Now let's read the additions to Esther in the Apocrypha 16:10. For Ammon, a Macedonian, the son of Ammedatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. That's what the Persians said about him, right? This is Esther, not additions to Esther, but Esther in the regular Bible, chapter 3 verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Ammedatha. Ammedatha is the same thing from this Ammedatha, same person. He was the Agagite. So Haman was an Agagite, the Jews' enemy, like we just read. And what is Agag? He was an Agagite. So let's see what the Agagites are, where they come from. This is 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 7 through 8. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur. That is over against Egypt, which connects back to Hagar when she fled there, or fled close there. Verse 8, and he took Agag, where you get the term Agagite, and he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites. Agag was an Amalekite, which would make Haman, who was an Agagite, an Amalekite, right? And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Now let's see where Amalek goes back to. This is Genesis 36, verse 10 through 12. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau; Ruel, the son of Beshemeth, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenez. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. Right? These were the sons of Ada, Esau's wife. Now, gotta put this in. This is now just to get it. This is the definition of heathen. Heathen, people, nation, usually used for a non-Israelitish people, and thus has the meaning, or the same meaning, of Gentiles. The differentiation, my bad, between between Israelites and Gentiles was more sharply accentuated in New Testament than in Old Testament times. The reason for this being chiefly that the Jews had suffered so much from the Gentiles' hands, Gentiles were looked upon with aversion and hatred. As so they should. This is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 1 through 4. The vision of Obadiah, who was a prophet. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and we just read that heathen is a non-Israelite. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. So he made the nation of Edom, because heathen means nation or people, right? I have made thee small among the people, or the other nations. Thou art greatly despised. Verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock. What do you call white people? Caucasians. And what does Caucasian go back to? The Caucasus Mountain. Whose habitation, Caucasus Mountain, cliff of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. So the Edomite nation exalts themselves as the eagle. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, the eagle has landed, and they put that satellite in the sky. Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Right? So I exalt thyself as the eagle. This is an old Edomite building. Petra is in Mount Seir, same building. Oh, well, that's something else. But they exalt themselves as the eagle, right? Not only is their architecture buildings the same, but every great Edomite empire has the same symbol, the eagle. This is ancient Greece. What do you have? The eagle. That's Ptolemy right there. Ancient Rome, Vespasian. What does he exalt himself as? The eagle. What else? Great Britain. Eagle. United States of America, eagle. United States of America, eagle. There you go, bro. And what now? This is just proving, giving more proof that the white man is Esau. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 12 verse 9. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 12 verse 19. And this is the copy of the letters which I want to get something real quick. Stay in tune. You know what I'm saying? Keep watching. This is first address. Second address. That's what I want. Well, if y'all don't know, I'm getting the scripture to say that Abraham had Jacob and Isaac. Even if you go in the regular Bible, Jacob had Abraham had Isaac, right? And a whole bunch of other sons. But Abraham, then it went from Abraham to Isaac, then went to Jacob. It went to it was Abraham, then he had Isaac and Ishmael and a whole bunch of other sons. And from Isaac had Jacob and Esau, right? So I want to get that to prove that. Okay, second address 33. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me see. Okay. This is trying to get it. Okay, this is second address chapter 13 verse. This is second address chapter 3 verse 13. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. Him thou lovedest, and unto him only thou shootest thy will. Verse 15. And madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. Verse 16. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau, meaning he didn't choose Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. And it came to pass, when thou leddest his seed out of Egypt, thou broughtest him to the Mount Sinai. Okay, so that's what I wanted. So Abraham had Isaac. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau, right? And Esau is the white man because he came out red. And the white man is red, but we're going to get the, and he exalts himself as the eagle. This is 1 Maccabees chapter 12, verse 19. And this is the copy of the letters which Oniris sent Arius, king of the Lacedaemonians, to Onias, the high priest, greeting. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. Right? Now, what are the Lacedaemonians? Sparta was a prominent city-state in ancient Greece. In antiquity, the state was known as Lacedaemon. Right? That's where you get the term Lacedaemonians. While the name Sparta referred to its main settlement on the banks of the Erythos River in Laconia in southeastern Peloponnese. Right? So, okay. This is the Lacedaemonians are of this. I'm going to read 21 again. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews, what writing? The scriptures. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. Right? So there you go, bro. It's telling you clearly that the Jews and the Lacedaemonians, which goes back to the Grecians, which goes back to Esau, right? How are they of the stock of Abraham? Because Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob and Esau. The nation of Israel comes from Jacob. The Lacedaemonians and the Spartans and the Greece and the Lacedaemonians, which is the Spartans, come from Esau, right? So there you go, bro. Okay. I think that's all I wanted. I just wanted this scripture for the Edomites, because it says they boast themselves in wisdom. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, because at that time, remember, this is New Testament in Corinthians. Corinth is a city in Greece or Rome, one of them, and they would have philosophy up there. So this was a warning from Paul when he was writing his letters to the brothers scattered amongst these Greeks that's in philosophy, or Romans that's in philosophy. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool that he may be wise. And it's probably talking about the Greeks / Romans, because we read about the Greeks being in that philosophy spirit. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God, for it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And that applies today. You know what I'm saying? The Most High will cover things that people try to uncover and take the wise in their own. The Most High will uncover things that the white man has tried to cover, and take the wicked in their own craftiness. This is Isaiah chapter 44, verse 24. Thus saith the Lord, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am the Lord that maketh all things, that stretcheth forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. Because he's wise, God. He's a wise God. Verse 25. That frustrateth the tokens of liars, because the truth is coming out, and maketh diviners mad, that turneth wise men backward, and maketh their knowledge foolish. Ain't nobody talking about Hercules and all of that in the philosophy anymore. Ain't nobody in those schools of thought. They just off, right? Or the white man might hide those schools of thoughts with other names, but they're not on the earth no more. Well, they are. They could be, I don't know. But them being identified as that is not. You know what I'm saying? And when the kingdom come, all that foolishness and all that knowledge on the left-hand side, the wicked side, is going to be destroyed. That confirmeth, verse 26, how? Verse 26, that confirmeth the words of his servant, and performeth the counsel of his messengers, that saith to Jerusalem, thou shalt be inhabited, and to the cities of Judah ye shall be built, and I will raise up the decayed places thereof in 3 days. If you have an ear to hear. More proof. The white people knew that they were the ancient Edomites during the Roman Empire. This is Antipater the Idumean, right? He was from Rome. He was born 100 BC. Died 43 BC. Antipater the Idumean was the founder of the Herodian dynasty, where you get Herod that you read in the New Testament, and father of Herod the Great. According to Josephus, a Jewish writer, historian, he was the son of Antipas and had formerly held that name. Now, what does Idumean mean? Or it means Edomite. So Antipater the Edomite. He was wearing that proudly. This is Genesis chapter 36, verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom, and these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. Let me see. Okay, this is just some ancient comparing Petra to all the ancient Edomite buildings, and Petra is in Mount Seir here. The historical situation. So this is Mount Seir. This is but all the Edomite. Look, they dwelling in the cliffs of the rocks. But yeah, man, this is look, all the buildings from Petra to Mount Seir, where the Edomites lived, in Greece to Rome, America, all of them are the same. Why? Because Ecclesiasticus 3:15. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requireth that which is past. That's why, so certain kingdoms have characteristics of other kingdoms. Like Babylon in Revelations is not the same Babylon you read in other parts of the Bible, but it does. The Most High calls it that because they mess with some of the same things, or are doing some of the same things that happened back in the ancient world, because God requires that which is past. So with that, Israel, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach Yahushai. I hope everybody was edified with this video. Do more studying. Read for yourself. Don't just, put videos on. That's okay, but, read. Read. Keep the commandments so, the Most High won't block your understanding. And keep, go hard and act for more compassion and love for your people to wake you up, edify, get up first thing in the morning, drop down on your knees and pray. And I pray for that spirit as well. Not to grab my phone, but to get down and pray and edify Israel. So, all right, Israel, with that, I want to say shalom.